Also, echoing our reporting yesterday, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that some Gulf states have grown concerned about the ceasefire agreement between the U.S. and Iran. As the Journal notes, America's allies and partners in the Middle East fear they will end up paying the price for a war in which the overwhelming military might of the U.S. and Israel failed to secure any political gains. Officials in the Middle East believe there is a significant chance the war will flare up again, possibly with even greater intensity. According to the Journal, which spoke to analysts across the Gulf region, the speed with which Trump went from threatening that a whole civilization will die to accepting Iran's maximalist 10-point demands a few hours later has left many in the Gulf questioning how hard Washington will push for a deal that achieves its objectives and protects America's friends.
Katie, our allies in the region and the Gulf opposed this war. It said quite openly they didn't want the president to go to war once the president decided, because Netanyahu decided he was going to war, to actually move forward with it. They said, OK, if you're going to start it, you've got to end it. You've got to achieve your goals, or else you're going to make life in the region even more dangerous. And that's exactly what happened yesterday morning. Of course, we spoke to leaders in the Gulf region who were expressing deep concern about the fact that the situation is worse today than it was before the war started. And this is what the Wall Street Journal also reported on later in the afternoon, that our allies in the Gulf region right now don't find the current ceasefire, the terms of the current ceasefire, acceptable for their national security.
You always know when there's a region that is unhappy with a situation because they start reaching out to reporters. And I also had a long conversation with a Gulf official yesterday morning who also expressed the same thing, was wanting to say, look, from our point of view, there actually isn't a ceasefire. We're still being attacked. That was the status yesterday anyway. But the concerns that they have are basically four. They want the straits open. They want the nuclear material out of there. They want an end to Iran's nuclear program. They want the regional proxies to be eliminated and not have access to Iran's missiles anymore. And they want Iran's ballistic and missiles program to be ended. So they're pretty clear on what they want. The problem is they're dealing with a president who's basically put his cards on the table. I mean, whatever he's posting this morning about the fact that the American troops will stay there and that there'll be bigger and better bombing, his relief at having ended it yesterday was so transparent. It was so clear that he had moved on effectively even before this ceasefire had really taken hold, that no one is thinking that he has really the stomach at the moment to go back in there in 2 weeks' time if this ceasefire isn't holding. So let's see what this 2 weeks brings up. Let's see if the Pakistanis and the Chinese, who seem to be shuttling backwards and forwards, and J.D. Vance can come up with something that will hold. But the message from the Iranians this morning is still, we think we have the right to enrich our uranium. And they're not backing down on that. So there's so much that needs to be given on both sides for this thing to actually come together.
Yeah, and, you know, Richard, first of all, there's a false deadline in the president's mind strategically, and that is his meeting with Xi. He wants this in the rearview mirror by the time he has that meeting. So much of what's happening right now can be traced back to that. But secondly, I sit here and I wonder. Here's the president who has said we're going to go after the epicenter of terrorism since 1979. We're going to take out their nuclear program. And we heard a year ago that took out his nuclear program. White House spokespeople were saying fake news when people were saying that the nuclear program was not completely taken out. And then we have the president saying, oh, they're only 2 weeks away, a year later, from having a nuclear program. I mean, are we really going to get to the end of this war? And are the Iranians still going to have 970 pounds of nuclear material that can create a slew of dirty bombs that they can place around the world? Are we really going to find ourselves in a position where, once again, Americans are going to be sitting across the table from Iranians in a weaker position? Because we've already rung that bell of military threats, trying to negotiate with the Iranians about their nuclear material?
We are going to be in a weaker position, Joe. Let's just be blunt. It's the uncomfortable truth here. after 5 weeks of war, we are objectively and arguably worse off. Vis-a-vis the Strait, vis-a-vis the nuclear thing, the ceasefire doesn't take into account Iran's proxies. This regime is more entrenched than ever, arguably harder line than ever. And it's, you know, in the reporting you've given about the region, they are worried that at the end of the day, they're going to have to face this angry, capable Iran, and they've learned we can't defend them. They're learning the hard that they can't depend on us. So that I think is going to ultimately be the worst part of this, is that we're going to leave this critical part of the world, which is so essential to the world's economy, worse off with Iran with more rather than less influence. Even though it's been, quote unquote, weakened on the battlefield, it is strengthened strategically. And that will be the historic bottom line of this war.
Yeah, and I guess we've repeated this from day one. And it's something that Chuck Schumer, I think Republicans don't get, but when I was talking to Chuck Schumer, he didn't seem to get that there are two sides of this. There's the military side, and our military has just done an extraordinary job tactically. Military has done an extraordinary job. And then there's the political side. And I go back to what General Herdling said on one of the first days of the war. He said, if you have great tactics and terrible strategy, that is the slowest way to lose a war. And right now, we have great tactics. Our military is doing everything we could ask of them. It's an extraordinary military, no doubt about it. But from the very beginning, no real strategy. We were going to attack for a day or two, kill a couple of their leaders, and the people were going to rise up. The people haven't risen up. So regime change out the window. We were going to get rid of their nuclear program, which we were told was destroyed a year ago. And then we were told a year later it's 2 weeks away from creating another weapon. That's not happening either. I mean, the president's going to have to make, it seems to me, two really tough choices here. One is, how is he going to get the nuclear material? That's going to take boots on the ground. That's going to take a very large special ops force. That's going to take American casualties. And he's going to have to decide whether he's going to do that. He's going to have to decide what he's going to do to keep the straits open. Because trusting Iran puts him in a worse position, actually, than he was at the beginning of the war, when he said we can't trust Iran. Except now, again, they're angrier, they're more radicalized, they're more ground down, but ready to fight back than ever before.
And we've insulted our alliances once again every step of the way during this. So